Hi everybody, it's Alan here from Reilly Real Estate with Reilly's Real Talk for this Friday, the 21st of October. It's wet and wild out there today and looks like it's going to be a wet weekend ahead, but I'm sure if you're looking for a property, there's still some great opportunities for you to check out this weekend. So today, going to give you a quick update on what's happening in our local marketplace, a bit of a snapshot of what's happening across Toowoomba, as well as answering a couple of our viewer questions. So let's get into it. So over the past week, we've seen still excellent buyer inquiry coming in. It's the same thing, I know, probably week on week. Really strong buyer inquiry and still really tight in terms of the number of properties for sale at the moment. Right now, on realestate.com, there are 779 properties advertised for sale on the site for the Toowoomba area. Of those, 317 are marked as under contract, so it leaves just over 460 properties actually available for sale, and of those 460, about 130 are open for inspection this Saturday. So when you start to, it looks like a big number at the start, 779 properties, but when you start to filter it down and you realise there's only that 130 available for inspection this Saturday, it does show you that the levels of property for sale, or the number of properties available for sale, is still quite low, and that 130 represents a lower figure than what we've seen in the last few weeks in terms of how many properties are open for inspection. On the sales, the actual sales results over the past 3 months to the end of September, there are 561 recorded sales for the 4350 postcode. So that equates to about 187 properties each month transacting in the 4350 postcode. And so if we take that number of 187 a month and we look at the 460 odd that are available right now, there's around about 2.5, less than 3 months supply on the market right now. And anything under 3 months is still considered certainly a seller's market. You know, once we get above that, it starts to get a bit more balanced. So it is edging towards a more balanced market, but still very good selling conditions right now. In terms of the viewer questions we've had, so the two questions we wanted to look at today for you. First was how to maximise your sale price. So what are the things that you can do to make the most out of your property when you do come to sell? And also having a look at the comparison between auction and private treaty, which are traditionally the main two ways that property is transacted here in Queensland. So how do you maximise your sale price? It's different for every property, but there is some similarities throughout. It really starts months before you put the property on the market, ideally. So we like to recommend to our clients, and we certainly strongly encourage all of our clients to get us in early, sometimes up to 6 months before they're ready to put the property on the market, and we can sit down with them, talk about their situation, what it is they're trying to achieve, and how we can prepare the property to get the absolute best result, and not just the best price, but the best net result. So making the most, if you do need to invest some money into the property to bring it up to scratch, that you're making the most of that money that you put into it. So where we would start with for most people is just sitting down, getting an idea of your situation, and then having a look at the property and looking at what those areas are that are going to be the attractive areas to the buyers, that's really going to draw them in, and making the most of those areas. And then for the most part, it's little touches here and there. So painting where it needs it, freshening up areas like the kitchen and the bathroom and those big sale areas, and getting that entrance looking really nice. So whether it's redoing the gardens, and that might just be landscaping and freshening things up, but little touches here and there. And then setting out the presentation. So preparation and presentation is that first part. We'll work through with you with the presentation, depersonalise the home to a degree, open spaces up, and get as much light into areas as we can. The next part then is the promotion. So if we've done all that work preparing the home, the next part to getting the best price is promoting the property effectively. So what we want to do with our promotion is get the best reach we can, so cast that net as wide as possible and ensure that we're capturing all the potential buyers for your property. And then also the two parts to the marketing is frequency and reach. So we've spoken about reach, casting that net nice and wide, doing that online through our own work, through our database, but also with print media as well. And the different forms of that. That can be direct mail, that can be flyers to the local area. If it's relevant, obviously we still have the paper here as an option as well, but certainly casting that net as wide as we can to bring in all the buyers possible. That frequency of it is how many times those buyers are seeing the marketing come up. So it might not just be that first time someone sees it that they act. It might take 3, 4 or 5 times for them to see the property before they make that inquiry or book that inspection. So our marketing focuses on both of those, getting the right reach, getting the right frequency for you so that we get those buyers in. And then the last part really is the strategy, the pricing or the strategy of the property, which leads into the second question from our viewers, which is auction versus private treaty. So that strategy largely depends on you as the vendor as to what you're most comfortable with. We sell properties certainly by private treaty and by auction. I am an auctioneer, so we do have the ability to make that available to our clients. There is no cost difference with doing that with us, which we think is a really good advantage because we're giving our owners the option to take up what's best for them, not just what they can afford at the time. So if we're looking at private treaty is obviously selling with a price, so whether that's a fixed price or sometimes people will put offers over a certain price. This can be good because it can give the market clarity. So they know whereabouts you're thinking and they can formulate their offers based off that. You do obviously in a normal market, you do have the opportunity to be able to readjust that with feedback from the market if you need to. And then you'll have offers come in. Sometimes because people can work off a price, the offers can be come in sometimes a little bit quicker than with an auction, but not necessarily. But it can make for, I guess, a little bit more familiar process for people rather than the auction, which some people are a little bit cautious around. I guess the downside to your private treaty sale, if there is one, is the fact that most offers that you're going to get are going to have conditions. So whether that's just what we would call standard conditions, which is building inspection, pest inspection, finance clauses, but it can also include things like due diligence clauses, subject to the sale of another property or the settlement of another property. There can be a whole range of things that come into it. So while you may find that you can negotiate a deal in a good time frame, that deal may not actually get to what we call unconditional, or to a point where we can officially say the property is sold for a number of weeks. Sometimes we get to that point of signing and we say now it's hold our breath and hope it all goes through. But so that's probably the thing to consider there, is that yes, you may be able to negotiate the sale, but you will have that period of where the contract is conditional upon a few different things, and depending on what they are, they can be easy mountains to climb. Sometimes they can be quite big hills to get up. So that's private treaty. As I said, most and probably somewhere around about 80% of properties in Toowoomba, if not even more, sell via a private treaty method, whether that's offers above a certain price, whether that's a fixed asking price, or whether it's something like offers to purchase, which is still really a private treaty function. You don't having that auction campaign to lead into an offers to purchase style of sale. So that covers those sort of things. It does keep things open for everyone, gives both the buyer and the seller flexibility. It does have the downside of contracts with a number of conditions potentially. On the other side of the coin, so we have auctions, and people are, I guess sometimes, and I guess rightly so, from maybe things that may have happened in the past, are cautious around auctions, but they really don't need to be. The way we structure an auction nowadays is to give you you as the seller the control over the process and to make a well-informed decision about your property. So what actually happens with an auction is you have 3 opportunities to sell. The first opportunity being when the property is first on the market, during that marketing period leading up to the auction. If you receive an offer that you're happy with in that time frame, then you can sell and away you go, which is great for all parties. It means that the buyer has found a property that they like. It means the seller has found a buyer at a price and the conditions that they're happy with, and everyone can move on happily. If the property doesn't sell in that first instance, then we do have the auction day itself. Now, the auction day is the ideal time for sellers to be able to make their most informed decision about their property, but also for buyers to be able to transact transparently in the marketplace and buy with confidence. So with the auction day, we have that 4 weeks of marketing where we've gathered information about your specific property, not just the market in general, about your specific property. The buyers have had the chance to view it. They view the building and pest reports that we make available for them. They've been able to formulate where they think that the value lies and get their finances in order. And ideally, we bring them together at the auction with a competitive auction. We see the property go up and over the reserve. You always have a reserve price with an auction that protects you as the vendor, means you're not going to sell for a price you're not happy with. And the real bonus for the auction day, we get up and over that reserve, which is fantastic, but it is a cash unconditional sale on the day. So there's no cooling off period, no building and pest clauses, no finance clause, and no other clauses in the contract. When it's signed and done, the deposit's paid there and then, it's sold. So you know that you can move forward with confidence, and we've had this happen over the last few months, numerous times over the last few years, where our vendors have been able to sell at auction day, then turn around sometimes that afternoon, if not in the next few days, and buy another property that they were looking at, knowing that theirs was done. So it does open up opportunities for you. Not only that, but you get the opportunity to set the settlement date, so you can say right from the outset, this is when we want to settle, and it gives you control over the process. So for sellers, a really good scenario, because you're making an informed decision about your property. And also, the worst case scenario with an auction is that you'll find out who the real buyers are and what they're prepared to pay. And if that meets up with where your expectations are, that's great, you can move on. If not, you know exactly where your property sits in the market, and you can make the best decision for yourself moving forward. Now, for buyers, obviously all of that sounds like things are weighted in the seller's favour, but for buyers, especially in this market where there's a lot of properties selling via multiple offers, private treaty properties where we're getting multiple offers coming in, and effectively that's a silent auction. So lots of comments coming in from people where they've missed out on a number of properties over the last few months, and the common thing that we're hearing is that they're not sure where to offer. Yes, we have a price, but they're not expecting that the property will go for that money. Do they offer around that price, a bit above, or a lot above? You know, and no one wants to be in that scenario where they feel like they've paid way above the market just to secure a property. With an auction, it is transparent. You are going to see at the auction day exactly who. Sometimes you have bidders on the phone, you won't see them specifically, but you'll hear exactly how much they're prepared to pay for the property. Everyone is on a level playing field because the conditions are the same for everybody, and to secure the property you only have to be one better than that other bidder, which means you don't have to worry about overpaying, you don't have to worry about missing out by just a little bit. It is completely up to you where you put your hand up to, at what level you bid to, and where you stop. So you are in control then as well. And as I say, it's the transparency that's the key. I've seen it a number of times over the last couple of years, especially with the pace in our market, with so many buyers in the marketplace, that a lot of people missing out and being frustrated that they've missed out on properties, finding out that sometimes they were way out in terms of they were well under what the eventual sale price was, sometimes finding out they were just close and they go, oh, if I had gone one more I might have been able to get it. Well, with the auction, you never have to worry about being way out, way under or way over. You are right there where the market's at on the day, and as I say, a level playing field and a nice transparent process. So there are benefits for buyers as well. Not to mention you get to review the building and pest reports beforehand, and obviously if you do your research, you've got a period of time where you can do your research and prepare to be able to bid at the auction. So benefits for both buyers and sellers on that side. It is in the minority in terms of how many properties do go to auction in our region, but it can be a very good process for both buyer and seller. So I hope that's given you some insight into helping prepare the property for sale to get the most out of it, maximise your sale price when it does come to selling, and the differences there with private treaty and auction sales. So that brings us to a close for today. That's Reilly's Real Talk for this Friday, the 21st of October. Next week, I mentioned building and pest reports a couple of times throughout this update, and I think next week I'll actually talk about why we recommend getting those reports done before you put your property on the market. So make sure you tune in next week for that. And whatever you're up to this weekend, stay safe and dry if you can. And we look forward to speaking to you next week.